Very quickly, yeah, sorry about the technical issues. Want to point out new cap, new me. This right here, this is what I got when I went on vacation to Lake Shasta. It's a gray cap. I don't wear this much. My grandpa got it for me at the end of the trip. I don't think it's 100% cotton, so it doesn't. It's it's not my favorite. Um, but it's a very thin cap. So there you go.
Yes.
Nice.
So we are speaking of caps. So we are talking tonight about merch and branded clothing and whatever the fuck that means, because we were talking about it in the in our discussion channel in the podcast Discord, and we were talking about, okay, well, Spencer and Ethan did the episode, but what exactly does merch mean? And we have very loose interpretations. I know we were talking with I was talking with Kiyoshi about it. I'm sure we all have different definitions as well. But the thing in the podcast that will guide most of our conversation in general is just, I don't know, it's like a branded piece of clothing. That's kind of that's what Spencer and I were operating on. Like, it is usually when a non-fashion entity collaborates with a fashion entity, and that could be very loosely interpreted. Like, it could be like Barbork connecting with like some fucking random ass cap making company to make a barber cap that you can buy at the barber store. They give it to you free when you buy a fucking Badale or something like that. So that's one interpretation of merch. The other interpretation could be more so about collaborating between two different things, like an artist collaborating with a clothing brand, and even though that's still a non-menswear entity, but some people say a collaboration isn't merch. To me, it's more like, well, you're consuming merch of an artist that was made by this entity. So like if Luke Edward Hall put his art on a Rolling Blazers cap, like that's still merch because you are supporting the art of Luke Edward Hall. It just happens to be from a clothing company and not some random capsusa.com type of thing. So that is, it's a very loose interpretation. A lot of the stuff that we talk about is very loose and vague. That kind of is all encompassing. We kind of put branded clothing into that kind of category, like university stuff. Like, we talk about university shirts, alma mater caps, stuff like that. We also talk about fake merch, brand, like stuff that's branded. Like, I feel like Abercrombie is like a logo brand. Like, it's a brand based. I mean, it's like they're making fake merch. And something that we didn't think of that Kiyoshi pointed out was like back in like 2010 when everyone had like blank athletic club established 1980 whatever, whenever the brand came out. Like, and it's like, oh yeah, it's to me it's fake merch in the sense trying to be as if there was an athletic club from this company and you are buying it because it's like a funny, or I mean, in my head, you would only do it if it's funny, tongue in cheek, but the line between merch
at Gap.
exactly,
I really
the Gap
out
Athletic Club.
At,
established and then Roman numerals. Like, what the fuck?
Or
is up with that, right?
like every graphic T-shirt that J. Crew Men's sold.
There you go.
Exactly. So that is the topic today. I mean, I know Alder says he wants to listen, but I'm gonna make him talk anyway eventually. If he wants to. But I think
there's nothing we
we have
can
a
do
lot.
about that.
We have a lot of people here. This is a big one. Didn't get that much traction MFA, but if you guys have anything, we will be sure to call it out here. But I do want to talk to Kiyoshi, Aldous, and Matt and MJ, because if you want to hear Ethan and Spencer, you can listen to the full podcast episode.
You already heard it.
You already heard it. I'm expecting you to have heard this.
Dumbass.
Hey, fucker.
So MJ, let's talk to you about it, because you and I kind of, maybe Spencer too, right? Where when we're younger, a lot of what we wear is merch, right? Like, I think we talked about in the podcast, like Spencer, like theater camp stuff, math club.
Oh,
or whatever.
I also remembered something. My favorite T-shirt when I was in like kindergarten was a fake merch, or I guess not fake merch T-shirt. It was like a fake like company T-shirt for like, I work at like Monster Company, like my name's Frankenstein or whatever. And it was I don't know how, I don't think I'm going to be able to find any pictures or even Google to find that shirt, but I was like, yeah, I work at a scary monster company.
Nice.
Why wouldn't
you do that?
Wait, Monsters Incorporated?
Oh
Exactly.
my god. It's all connected.
We scare.
That's right. But yeah, MJ, why don't you talk us about merch? Because I mean, like that's kind of as nerds.
As
This is like what
Nerds.
this is what
Nerd.
make up a lot of a nerd's wardrobe. I mean,
Yeah.
at least maybe like earlier, maybe now nerds dress cooler because merch today is also cooler. I don't think we
Yeah.
spent time talked about how or maybe not in depth where like a merch T-shirt in 2008 was not good, but like the
Yeah,
Uniqlo like
a lot of
Marvel shirts or
reference tees,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Like minion T-shirts. Like that's kind
I
of.
think those are great.
Oh yeah, well, you want to be
You
content.
love them
Yeah.
In the if your
in the
car breaks down, right?
in the
In the middle
freeway.
of the highway.
Yeah.
But MJ, talk to us about merch.
Well, um, yeah, I guess I've been wearing merch before, in the before times.
About
Um,
4 times.
yeah, I mean, the like anime shirts and um Star Wars t-shirts, stuff like that, um, that I don't wear anymore because um I've I've since retired the not cool ones to being home shirts or like whatever shirts that
Sleep shirt.
yeah, like if I'm gonna clean or um you know I'm gonna be somewhere where it's gonna get dirty, like it's a kind of a beater shirt
At the
now.
ranch.
Yeah, and then like what Ethan mentioned earlier, um
Yeah.
the Uniqlo shirts are like the new cool merch shirts. um
Hmm.
like I still wear anime shirts, I still wear Star Wars shirts, but now they're the ones that aren't as nerdy to me or to us, I guess. Um, so I could still have fun, um, but be cool at the same time.
Yeah, what's the appeal when you do it? Like, is it just because you like the IP that's connected to?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's. I don't think I have a shirt where it's like solely for the, like a merch shirt that's solely for the design, and I have like no interest in like the thing that's on it, right?
Mhm.
Um, like I don't have any shirts from like I don't wear like 24-hour fitness or like Cal State LA
Yeah, rule of
t-shirts
cool
and
kind of
stuff like that,
applies
right?
here, right? Because it's like, I think when Spencer and I talked about, and I mean, like you too, like we have like band camp, choir festival T-shirts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the idea is the thing that you are supporting should also be cool, like or
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Or at
graphics
least
play into
ironic.
it.
It's okay if it's ironic.
Yeah, I mean, I would see. I mean, I kind of wish I still had some of my old like camp shirts or whatever from like Vacation Bible School to see if I could do it. Probably wouldn't because I feel like they like even if the thing is personal, it's also got to be designed cool too, right? Like it's
Right.
got to lay out properly. Like I remember like I had like a volleyball shirt that I got because I didn't. I mean, I didn't make the team, so fuck off.
Oh.
Um,
He got the
but it
shirt,
was
not the
like, I mean,
jersey.
but like it was better because I don't know, like it had like that iteration I got was like, oh yeah, Navy base. It's got like kind of like the minimal school logo, and then like the players or like the people who did the volleyball camp on the back of it. Like that was cooler than like like a fucking like the logo in the chest of the shirt kind of a thing.
Yeah, with a
Like there was.
Yeah.
big volleyball in the background.
Exactly, yeah. So there's different ways to kind of do it. So I totally feel how it's got to be cool. The thing it's got to be
Mm-hmm.
personal or
Yeah.
ironic, and I think what tends to happen, and Spencer and I talked about this too, is it's a shortcut to authenticity. That it was kind of
Mm.
the main theme of the podcast, and oh, how else do you show that you like volleyball? Wear your fucking volleyball like camp shirt, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and I don't know what it is about that because I mean it's kind of hard to kind of argue with it, right? Like, oh, I want to be myself. Well, I work at Tesla, so I'm gonna wear a Tesla shirt. Like how do you can't how do you argue with that? You can't. Like you literally can't until they want to go, well, I want to work at Tesla, but I also want to look like blank. And like, okay, then that's when you start to get into it.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, but do you know like I mean what was it? I mean, I know this is a little bit different, but like now, how do you pick your merch? That is it just based on like how cool the graphic is?
Mm.
You could say that.
That's I mean, it has to fit both criteria,
Stick to the
right?
script, MJ.
Okay, so
because
here's my we'll let MJ
Yeah,
finish. So,
MJ,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. So MJ
no,
Are we
finishes,
hat
and I
switching?
but
have
it's
a
it's
very
like
quick.
oh yeah, he's switching hats in a moment. Yeah, I
Also,
mean,
well, I got 5 minutes left.
All right, so wrap it up, MJ.
the signaling thing. It's funny you bring that up because I still um I'm still like half and half with it. Well, I don't think about that too much. Where like I need to know, or I need to let people know that I like Star Wars, right? I don't. That doesn't really cross my mind.
Mhm.
Or I want to work at X company so badly that I wear their merch. Um,
That's that's actually kind of funny because a guy at Board Games was wearing a 626 Night Market
yeah,
shirt, and I said, oh cool, like do you volunteer? How'd you get the shirt? It's like, oh no, I'm going to volunteer. I'm like, oh, so this is like future merch. Like
yeah.
this is
I
this
want to
is
volunteer for Anime Expo, but I haven't been yet.
so to show my support, I'm going to wear it
I'm
in
gonna
my
wear
free
the
time.
staff T-shirt. Yeah,
The guy, to be clear, the guy was nice. It just was interesting. I mean, I know it's the more I'm sure we all do it. You see a guy and you wonder, okay, what led him to this particular outfit? It doesn't have to be good or
yeah,
bad, but like
What led
it's
you to
nice to
this?
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like the Boba Time T-shirt is probably not gonna make its way into my closet.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, exactly.
um,
Also on that note, lots of dudes wearing cargo shorts and like chinila or sorry
Slippers.
sandals,
Yeah,
sandals.
thumbs.
Very very regular Asian guy kind of looks. But go on, MJ.
But yeah, the IP thing, um, I don't know. It also has to have. I have to also really like it. You know,
Yeah.
'cause, like kind of liking stuff. You know,
You
like
have to like it.
when the
Yeah.
for example, when like the anime shirts started being like being full force at Uniqlo, I didn't buy like one of everything. You know.
Right.
um there was like a few that I really liked because like it was actual art. Like they didn't just take something from um just like the usual Google image that you'd like when you search up like My Hero Academia, and then they just put it on there. Like it would be stuff that you usually don't see like at a Hot
Yeah.
Topic or a uh, a box lunch sort of thing.
You
Because
don't you don't want that?
no, who wants it? Come see me if you want that. If
Who
you want
Yeah.
that
can?
stuff, yeah, yeah. See, those T-shirts are now my sleeping shirts. The
Yeah.
Hot Topic shirts, the Domo shirts. I don't even
Oh,
think I
I
have.
see.
Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah,
think I have
okay.
the Domo shirt anymore.
I wish I still found. Okay, I know we're gonna get. I know I want to answer some stuff from David, and then I want to get to
Yeah.
Matt too after this. But I think one thing for me that I did not get into in the podcast is that I like to wear. Maybe this is in like the episode, the essay, but I like when I wear merch t-shirts because I want to prove that you can be cool and wear it still. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
because
In merch
it's
T-shirts, you said.
well, it's because like people think that you can't wear like there's twofold, right? You can't wear classic menswear and wear merch, and I feel like that's not true because not just
No.
because I like to do it, but because like the bullshit book club stuff. You also see like
Yeah.
guys wear the Grateful Dead stuff or like Ethan Newton and whatever, and then I'm like, well, I don't have that, so I'm gonna wear my Star Wars ones and prove that you can still be a like
Oh, I
nerdy
see.
Star Wars guy
I
and
see.
also still wear it. You can still evoke like the kind of playful like, oh yeah, the hipster, like the wannabe
Well,
fucking
this will tie
fandom
into my
dude.
point when we get to it, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then but the thing is I'm wearing it in a cool fashiony way instead of
Right.
like wearing it with like what a regular guy in LA would wear, like like
Untucked
that
with
with like
shorts.
yeah, untucked with shorts, or even like just like that with like black jeans and like chucks. Like that's, I mean, those
Sure.
are like fine, but I'm like there's a way to like elevate it, not formality wise, but like vibe
Just dressing
wise, you
smarter, yeah.
know? Yeah,
Dress smarter,
exactly.
not harder.
Like I mean,
Right.
there's a couple of summers where I'd wear like my Star Wars t-shirts with like black jeans and then wear like sockless tassel loafers and throw on like a short coat. I feel like
Sure.
that's like
Mm.
It
yeah,
does not
and
take a
like
lot of effort.
Exactly. So it's like proof in that arena that you can totally do it that way, instead of being like the boring dude. But let's
David
talk to
said
Matt. Yeah,
Oh,
let's
really
talk
quick.
to. Oh yeah,
Let me switch hats
Oh,
and also
we
just
gotta
say
switch caps. We
gotta
get to
switch
David, then
caps,
we'll
but
get to
very quick thing about the last discussion topic.
Mhm.
So I am the kind of person that I would not buy merch of a big company if I didn't like it, but if it was a local restaurant or bar or shop, whatever, I would buy it even if I didn't really like the merch, maybe just to support the store, but I probably wouldn't wear it much. That's
I'll
what
piggyback
has
off of that
ended
in
up
mine. Not
happening
his
with a couple
exactly,
of
but
pieces of merch. And then
boys.
quick change hat. This, of course, is my Bernie 2020 hat that I bought right before.
Man, well, that's a good one.
Right before I
It's like
got
navy.
before Super Tuesday, I bought this at a rally. Of course, it was $27, which in 2016 was the average donation. I believe it or not, didn't get much wear out of this hat.
Yeah, I wore mine once, I believe, my blue one.
I didn't really.
I don't think I even brought it with me.
I was gonna
I
say,
still have it. I just don't wear it a whole lot for obvious reasons. But here's this one.
The idea though that you buy it to support, like that's not enough. Like it's got to be cool. Like I gotta know I'm gonna wear it. That's just me in general.
I know.
Anything. Like I don't waste money. And so, or I try not to, and it's like I want to make sure everything I buy I wear, and so like that's why
this is not a cost per wear thing. It's different.
It's not a cost per wear thing. It's more like I don't own things I don't wear. So
it's really, I mean, it's really gonna depend. Like if I haven't I'm trying to think. Like there's not many like local shops around me that sell like ball caps or merch or whatever. Honestly, so I don't have much frame of reference for it. But if say like if the Shanghai Lounge sold a hat that was like maybe a trucker cap style for $15, sure, I'm not going to wear a trucker hat much, but I'd buy it, then wear it when I'm like hanging out in my backyard with my cat or whatever. If it was like 30 or more, like maybe not. But if it was cheap enough, like why not? I think it's also just like kind of a
like
fun
3
thing
gallons
to
of gas,
own.
man.
Okay, whatever. It's it's $15.
I don't. Yeah, I
David.
This is why I have to like really connect with it, and this leads me to David. So David says he doesn't like merch as a whole. He thinks buying goods in the first place is good enough. That's my thing. If I really want to support, I will buy the actual thing that you provide. I don't care to give free.
You don't want to get.
Companies.
I know you don't drink coffee famously, but you would get the coffee rather than the coffee hat.
Yes. I mean that's the answer. Like if I like your restaurant, I'm going to eat your food and continue to eat your food. I'm not gonna buy your fucking cap, dude.
Right.
And this applies to friends too. Like I mean, like I'd rather like
you won't buy your friends.
Yeah, exactly. If
buy
others want to
friends'
show the
food.
support to bands, that's fine, but not for me. Yeah. See, again, the difference here is that if the thing is cool, and so if David says if I should buy merch, I prefer pictures or icons to lettering. I don't like words or stuff like that. I prefer pictures and smaller pictures at that. I said this, I think, in the podcast where I said like I want it to be some kind of form of artwork. Words don't really mean anything to me. Like, I mean, it's fine, and obviously there's a lot of catchphrases, but like when it's like, oh, just barber. I don't know. I mean, like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's cool also if the words are a logo also, like Van Jack. Like that's kind of an iconic lettering that they do, So like, yeah, I totally agree with David on this here.
And then here's one more point, one very quick point. I am also like 1,000 times more likely to buy merch from a local spot if I don't have to order it online. Like if I mean that's like true. That's true with everything. Like yeah, if there was a place that I could drive half an hour and buy bean boots, I would own bean boots. It's just like the convenience
when
of
you're
buying
trying to weigh
something
it for
in
a
person.
Hat,
the convenience of buying something in person outweighs a lot of my hesitations. So yeah.
So Guilty Free Gaming says best favorite merch idea he's seen is when 18 East makes making stickers and someone turned those stickers into magnets for the fridge. That's to close the fridge. But yeah, I definitely like that. I think stuff like that. Stickers, I think I'm definitely into because I actually could put those on places and I can just forget about it. David also says here that his exception to his rule about not really being into merch is foreign merch. International merch is way cooler than American English stuff. If you can find something ubiquitous in another language, that's pretty cool. I'm inclined to agree. I just don't know exactly what that particularly means. Like, if it's like, I don't know. I can't even think. Like, I know that Ryan Cecil, the illustrator, goes to a uses Japanese printing company. So if he had that, I'm sure their merch is cool because it's Japanese and it's like, it's a very personal thing for him. But I can't think of anything that I do that's kind of more international that I would be into. I guess Fan Jack would probably be an example of that. Um, oh yeah, Star Wars poster versus Japanese poster. Yes, yeah, my Star Wars shirt is a Japanese one, and
Hashtag not
so
my
that
Star Wars.
that makes it. I mean, to me, and MJ has seen it. Like, it's a cooler shirt than like the shirt you get at Target that has the Millennium Falcon on it. Like, that's
Mm.
the big difference
Oh yeah,
there.
I have a long sleeve one with the like the
The
manga
oh
list,
the manga one.
Luke
Yeah,
Skywalker, and then
Oh,
the
I know him.
Japanese Empire Strikes Back poster.
yeah.
That's cool.
Exactly. That's the cool stuff. Yeah, it's gotta be cool, and I guess international stuff is cool. But okay, Matt, let's talk to you now. I know you have strong opinions about merch because we've talked about the Bullshot Book Club and everything, and irony and everything. So why don't you just dive into that? Take the conversation where you want it to go.
Well,
Take
it's
it
like
away.
when I don't even remember how long ago we had that conversation on the disc. Oh, I think it was like late February when they were opening up their the Bullshot Book Club hats, and this was kind of coming up into the thing. Since then,
Yeah.
I've sort of opened up a little bit, softened in that this is a very subjective thing where it's
Uh
like
huh.
if you want to wear a faded Captain America t-shirt, who am I to judge you or stop you? You might really like Marvel, and it's just like, that's your it's a clean, and like you said, images do more than just logos and graphics. I think there's taste and some better ways to do it. So it's just like I don't know, that came down hard, but I was just like I didn't quite get, kind of like what Spencer was talking about, the idea of like a corporate like Star Wars t-shirt versus like an independent shop that was kind of more niche and kind of interesting, but still supporting people. So I think that was sort of my opinion at the time, but I've since kind of opened up, but it's still like a very subjective thing. Like for instance, for me, I do not like the idea of owning like a button down or a polo that has the Ralph Lauren pony on it, or a Go to
Yeah.
Hell pants that
And
have the Ralph Lauren pony on the pants. But I
yeah.
don't mind wearing a green striped OCBD that has a Snoopy in not the chest, but like on the other
Hmm.
side of it, coming weird, just like unexpected. So I don't. So it's. But then like I bought those vintage Tyler shorts, and it has a Ralph Lauren logo on the back, but that doesn't ruin it for me. And then I have things like the Barber collab with Rowing Blazers cap that it's kind of been replaced by my Beauchamp Book Club hat in terms and the punk rock hat in terms of my preferred hats, but I don't mind some branding because I really do like Barber, and so I thought it was like a fun way to incorporate it all. So it's a very subjective thing for me, but my
Yeah.
initial thoughts was that I was like, yeah, I like the idea of not so much the mega mainstream stuff, the more independent, and then it makes people they think about it more. So
Mm.
yeah, those are kind of my
Do
initial
you
thoughts on
okay?
it.
So I've got two things.
Yeah.
Number one, we'll do this number one part. How connected do you feel that you are to the things, like to the merch that you wear, or branded pieces that you wear?
If it's not like for instance, I really do not own a lot of Ralph Lauren for whatever reason. I don't have like an aversion against them, but it's just whatever, doesn't matter. But getting those vintage Tyler shorts, this was not so much a thing of, oh, Ralph Lauren, I get to wear this brand and people get to see it on the back. This was purely, hey, I need a short. Oh, this cut works and this will do. It's like it serves a utilitarian purpose. So the logo is incidental. I got it because I know it
Yeah,
will serve this
I
purpose.
don't really see the Tyler short as an example of like a merch or brand thing because it's like Levi's has their leather patch on the back thing too, so it's
It
not.
it has a pretty. I looked at the back of it. At least for one of my navy ones, it has like a pretty broad polo Ralph Lauren, like against like a dark thing. It stands out fairly well. Where it's just like the flow of the garment, but yeah, it's not as much maybe as a Levi's thing, like a leather patch. It's not as explicit as some other things. You see that a lot with denim, but yeah. So it just depends if it's just serving utility and it the branding is incidental, or I put up with it, fine, whatever. But if like accessories specifically made for it, like to get like a school sweater or to get like a hat that has like a specific logo on it, that's usually more intentional. It just depends on how intentional you are been wearing the merchandise. Sometimes you really have to go out of your way to wear it. Like I've talked to you about, I haven't been wearing hats as much lately, but if I really want to, like I really need to for whatever reason, like, and choosing that specific hat, like I'm really wanting to show support for it. And retroactive support for supporting like an independent thing, and that's why I wear the merch in the first place.
Hmm.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so okay. So when supporting the independent stuff and then wearing it, like, do you want to be asked about it? Like, I mean, that
No,
like more
it's
like
not like
not
I'm
it's not
wanting it.
antagonistic. I'm just yeah, I'm just curious.
No, you're good. No, but it's not like I'm like wearing it like I hope someone asks me, but I just know it's like, well,
I
what else
hope
could
I
I do?
attract
Like
fellow fans.
if I yes,
Yeah,
the fans of the
I think
podcast.
that's a good that's a good one because it's like when we say we want to support the thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a common thing of merch. Like this is where I kind of get get kind of at odds too, right? Because I'm like, okay, well, if I'm gonna support it, why don't I buy the main thing of that brand?
Now, for
You know?
me, it's different because it's like, and maybe it's less different depending where you are, but it's like I wear this in person. It's A, just for me. B, oh, if people look at me, they either subconsciously think, oh, that's a little different, or what is that? Like a lot of people think, oh, your hat's hilarious. I thought it said the bullshit book club or something. Like it starts a conversation. It begins it somehow, sometimes with some people, but that's just the in-person world, isolate in the Midwest from people not around. But if I know I'm going to take like a picture, and especially if that's going somewhere like an Instagram, and I might tag someone that's involved in that, then I know that's going to exist for a certain amount of time, and that will be seen. And so that it has an online almost shelf life, and it takes on something else. So those are different considerations I
Interesting.
have. Yeah.
That's something man, I've never thought of it that
Yeah.
way before. Because then I would just I mean most of the stuff I wear is not taggable because it's all vintage.
Yeah,
So
Not
I mean
taggable, right?
we kind of
But
get
if
into
you
this.
had a photo of you just in like a star, I don't know. If you like we talked about earlier, like a cool way to just like a casual look that incorporates some of these graphic tees, is that something you would tag if it wasn't vintage? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I mean I wouldn't tag Star Wars if that's what
No,
you're asking me.
that's this is also what I mean. The slight drawbacks of like wearing something like that as opposed to something more hyper
I
specific
mean
that
I
might
think
have
yeah
the appearance of struggling.
that's the thing too here is that when I wear merch, I mean I don't really have anything like the niche things that I like don't have merch. Like
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's just so it's one of
There's
those
not a
things where
Hans
like
Zimmer T-shirt you could get that would fulfill your desire.
yeah, I mean I also wouldn't want to do that either.
I just
But
said that as an offhand. Yeah.
no, I know. But it's like that again. The idea of support is something that's so interesting to me because I mean that's the big
Like, okay,
thing
I'm gonna
behind
be very
merch.
candid here. Let's
Yeah,
take
go ahead.
Jason's punk rock. I can never
Yeah.
say this.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
punk rock hat. Now, I did like that kind of music, the pop punk and all that. That might not be something I like now, or whatever is punk rock. Now,
Yeah.
and also to go out in person and be like a person that has punk rock on my head. Do I like this music? Am I a poser? Like these are questions that do enter into it. Am I fully getting the most out of this garment? But it's different now because it's like, look, I know this guy. Like it's Atelier, and he's like, this is a product for his brand, and I'm supporting that. I know this person, and I'm sort of again same thing like Midwest. People are not gonna look at that and go, oh, I heard of that Matt King George, or they're not gonna ask me about that. But I have had people like, oh, it's a cool hat. Just like stuff like that. And then if I
Mm.
do put it online, then it's that shelf life where it's like, oh, I can tag that person or I can tag that brand. And people who might not know, they get to see it and then they get down the rabbit hole. So if it's like a friend, I do feel that support, even if I might not have the interest in punk rock music or want to be, it's not even a thing of wanting to be associated with that because
Well,
then
I
I can
think
dress in a way to make it look like that.
well, because I mean I think that's the like I think vague merch is interesting as a
Uh-huh.
concept because it's like punk rock art. It's a generic term for a
It's
very
not
broad
Matt King
genre of music.
George Atelier.
Exactly. So I feel like that to me in my head, I still don't I mean I probably wouldn't wear it just because I don't wear caps as much
Sure.
anyway.
Sure.
Um, but like that's kind of like I think it because it's so vague and ambiguous. I'm
That's
more
better for you.
okay with I'm more okay with that as opposed to wearing something that says like again like Star Wars or what
Well,
like
it's
on
like
my cap
movies,
or
it's like
whatever.
art. Like, what can you say with an image that you don't need language for? You know, it's
Right.
like
Yeah, but then
it
that
transcends
adds
level.
into the fact where I'm agreeing with David, right? Where like if it was like art on the cap itself, like Luke Edward Hall, that's cool to me because art is this particular type of art is not in words. It's not printed words or
Yeah,
a company name. So that's also something that kind of makes it a little bit
Haberdasher
easier.
Society
I yeah, so it's different than say, yeah, than like wearing a
or
cap
whatever it is.
that says Supreme on it,
Yeah,
for example.
like that. Yeah.
Or the opposite where like because whenever there's words, there is and
Hmm.
especially if the words are about the company or organization itself, that's what makes it kind of weird because it's
Well,
not like
yeah,
a phrase, right? It's not like you have a cap that says like what's funny or not at pity because not at pity is just a phrase. It's still branded, but like it's a thing made by
yeah.
rowing blazers that you can wear that could apply to anybody, But when you have a cap that says Charred Racquetball Club,
Uh-huh.
it'll happen. No, or here's a good example. I think I said this for me uh, on the podcast where I wore my novel bowling club hat because I was going to work out or I was walking around and I wore it
Hmm.
to my COVID test and a
Okay.
guy goes, "Oh, you're in a bowling club? Oh, cool. Where do you guys play?" And I literally was like, "Oh no, this is a fake this is a
Oh
fake cap."
no!
And he's
And were
like
you just like traumatized by that?
and he was just like, "Oh,
Oh
okay."
no.
And
Well,
like,
see,
yeah, this
that's why I can't wear another school sweater. I think
Hmm.
there are other examples, but that comes to mind at the moment. We're just like, ooh, just like, why are you wearing that?
Oh yeah, I
So
never
yeah,
got that. I never
I know
got
the
that one
road you
either.
feeling however you felt with that. Yeah.
And then wait, really quick, we
Yeah.
gotta cut back to
Really
our regular
quick.
segment. Spencer switches hats.
Yes, of course. What do we got?
I have right here my one. Well, I guess my second newest acquisition behind my Coors cap. This
Hmm.
is a almost dead stock Angels hat from 1986 or 1987. I was able to date it to those years.
Holy shit.
I like the Angels are my local team. I'm not like huge
you
into
go full
baseball
Marcus there.
personally, but my family, I was raised in an Angels household, so I have an affinity for them, and I'm seeing an Angels game in a couple weeks.
Way to
But
go.
I saw this in a documentary. I was watching a documentary about the Angels in the late '70s. I'm like, damn, that cap looks really good. And so I found one on eBay, and I got it for myself, and here it is.
Here it
It's fitted
is.
all full, but it has a very stiff buckram crown, which all my other caps have like, flat crowns. So it's a little bit different, but I still like it.
Okay, I gotta get this out before I forget it.
Yeah, sorry.
A couple
Sorry.
like 3 years ago when I didn't have like because I saw Drakes were doing this and I thought it was really cool, but I was like, I don't have shit. And so I just stole like literal dad hats from my dad, but they were like Adidas. And I was like, but I still had some where it was like a Peninsula Players, like a theater at Door County. So some worked, but like weird shapes and all that stuff. Or like
Yeah.
one was like a vintage blue Adidas. So I found ways around it, but like sometimes you work with what you got. But like if I just looked at it back now retroactively, you're just like just to have a hat that's like Adidas. Like again, I try not to judge others, but like, and we really haven't gotten off of accessories, but like just the idea of wearing an Adidas tracksuit. Like don't want to judge someone. That's not something I would do, but it's just like just that overt branding. I don't think that's something for me specifically outside of just an accessory to like go with an entire outfit that just projects this brand. And it's different than just wearing all Drake's pieces because that's still detached enough. You don't have a logo on it, kind of like what we're talking about. Logos, words, the
Well,
wordless, and what
okay.
just looks like an
Maybe we can
outfit.
shift over now. What about
Yeah.
like collaboration stuff now? Because it's like you're wearing merch of this partnership. If we think about like ALD and Drake's, you're thinking of, as Kiyoshi said, like the billions of Ralph Lauren collaborations that have existed since the dawn of time. Adidas, with
Whoever wins, we lose.
I think wearing Blazers. Yeah, exactly. Now we got Fila with Brooks Brothers. You got all this kind of guys doing this, and so like you have this you know, this weird push toward it that we've kind of touched on in the Future of Menswear episode. But it's like, a lot of guys getting to menswear now are like ex or quote recovering hype beasts, right? And so
Uh-huh.
to capture this whole market, you've got this whole thing, and hype beasts have never had an issue with wearing branded clothes. I mean, that's kind of one of the biggest things, right? Where you're wearing the latest hyped collab, right? This latest branded piece that's coming out. Um, and sometimes, in that world too, like the sheer incredulity of a partnership of a certain collaboration is enough for you to buy it, right? Like a
Hmm.
fucking,
Right.
I mean, I
You
don't know, the Supreme brick technically could be made with some
Huh.
fucking stonemason and
yeah.
Supreme, technically, if you want to think of it in a very
Oh,
expanded way, right?
Sure.
Uniqlo
MJ,
cause. That's like
Uniqlo cause,
that's like
big one,
prime
right there.
example, right?
Yeah.
Uniqlo
Um,
Keith Haring.
pretty
Hmm?
yeah. I got asked
Uniqlo
about
with
that
everybody,
today.
and so like that's where it starts to get kind of interesting because we can't. My idea of merch is like it's a basic that happens to be branded. At least that's how I'm able to wear it. I don't have anything that's an overt piece
Well,
that
because
like
yeah, it's supposed to be like mass produced and like sold, at
exactly,
Or
like
that's
yeah,
the
concerts
season, the
or
quote unquote season,
Yeah.
just like look at
uh
this collab.
Summer
I mean, collabs are only good
2021.
in my opinion, where it's like
yeah.
I know Brooks Brothers and who's that?
and
Who makes the short suits that are gray?
Tom Brown.
Tom Brown. I know
Yep.
they had like a collab where it's like a cardigan and it's just like perfect cut, and it's like, oh, it just happens to be Brooks Brothers. So it's like I probably wouldn't wear Brooks Brothers, but they made that good, and it's just like great.
Hmm.
So I
well, yeah,
think they only bring it together, but I still have to want to wear it, like just for the brand sakes. If it's still not something I would wear, like overtly logo or branded, like the barber. Like I don't know how long it would take for me to buy a Rolling Blazers cap, but I happened to buy that Barber one because I liked Barber. And I know I wanted to get a corduroy cap eventually, but it met a lot of my needs, and I
yeah.
happened to resonate with that collaboration,
I
so it
mean,
led me to the purchase.
well, I guess what it comes down to is, do you see merch or even basics in general, for example, um, working within your wardrobe, right? Because it's like for me, as we talk about this, like, oh yeah, a merch T-shirt or a merch cap doesn't really work because I don't wear T-shirts or caps. So like
Mm.
right away, I am like, it's not
You
gonna work out.
delineate the things because like we discussed the different merch options where it's like I sort of know. Look, I don't think I could make a merch T-shirt work for me. I don't think that's part
Mm.
of my personal wheelhouse. I wear T-shirts, I wear striped ones, I wear solid ones, V-necks, crew necks, but I just don't think like it would take a lot for me to get to that because it's like it could be a little bit limiting basically, and then just to have a logo on it. But even crew necks are easier than just a straight up T-shirt. But I think you have limits for yourself, and you can say, okay, well, I can wear that, I can't wear that.
Yeah,
And for you, if you just cannot like do like a basics thing, like then you just have to kind of like you said, find other ways to fill that void.
yeah. I mean that's maybe why I'm more into collab stuff,
Because it's
rather
closer.
than
Yeah.
yeah, because with collabs, right, as we discussed, it's like it's more so a garment that happens to have an influence and design by another entity. Maybe
It
not
doesn't
even.
just say
Sometimes it's in,
Drake's.
yeah, exactly,
It's like
like a
an
Drake's
original
a
product.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's not the
and
usual from whatever.
And the real branding comes
exactly.
from the eyes of the beholder. That's a game suit from Drake's. You don't need a fucking name tag that says Drake's. I know that's
Yeah,
Drake's.
or more specifically, like the specific tapestries that ALD or the striped ALD did with the Drake's scarves,
Mm,
right?
Hmm.
Or
right.
like the Drake sweatpants, or well, I guess that one's kind of original because Drake's never did sweatpants before.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and then they did it with them.
but
Yeah.
but a good example is fucking Armory X Rain Jacket, where they made the proprietary versions of it. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, again, very loose definition of merch or branded clothing, but it's a collab in my head. And so like, well, instead of buying like the regular off the rack, you're getting the special one that only the if you know people will get, the Armory and Ring Jacket
But is
collaboration.
that virtue
Um,
signaling?
yes.
This is all
Um,
virtue signaling.
so it's like, well,
We're
I'm more
woke
okay with that
souls.
kind of stuff when the product is in like a original thing, or more
Yeah.
in my wheelhouse to
That's
wear.
more for you, I feel. I don't know, Ethan. I think you could still make a cap work. I feel like
Oh,
some
I
graphic
don't get me.
shirts and all that.
I can wear anything,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
will I choose to wear it is another
Over
question.
your other stuff. But having said that, because you said it yourself, you kind of categorize those as basics, where it's just like Well, I'm not a basic person, and so I think
I'm not a
collaborations where it's
basic
just like it's.
person.
Well, you say
Just
that.
not a, yeah,
So
I'm
I
not
think
not a t-shirt person. Yeah.
yeah, so I think a collaboration is more your wheelhouse, where it's like, okay, let's take this idea, put it to another level. You can still support these people, and in fact, you're supporting more people, literally too. And you get to, it's just a little bit more original. It's not as cookie cutter. Do you feel that? Do you feel you want to be a bit more unique as well, outside of style in
I
general?
would
But do
say
you want to feel
unique.
your collaboration?
I I mean, in my head, I'm always wearing a button. I mean, I'm wearing a button-up shirt right now, man. It's like
Can you
when I
just
think of
can you
myself.
restate your punk rock anecdote? You like got a photograph. You'd rather have a photograph of the hat or something like that rather than get the
Well, I mean,
hat.
punk rock makes sense to me because it's a vague thing. It's like a reference
Yeah,
to like how it's technic to me. It's a reference to how Jason says, "Oh yeah, that's punk rock." Like
yeah.
that's what the thing is. It is
And this
not
idea
to
of
me,
unofficial merch as well, that's fun.
but it does not mean that you like punk rock.
Yeah,
It
it's
you
beyond
like
that. Again, there are
it,
layers. It's not as literal.
yeah, but like
Again, where
something
the
like
irony comes in of wearing like a High School Musical t-shirt, there's more
you
to it than just you have an
yeah,
old
because I mean,
shirt.
for a more real thing, right? It's like it's the Bullshot Book Club. It's like
Yeah.
I have no real connection to that, and so and it's not a reference to. I mean, it kind of is, but like it's not something my friends kind of did. I don't know. It's stuff like that that's kind of a weird one.
You
Um,
feel sort of like the bowling hat where it's like I'm not a part of this thing, so I don't think I should be doing
yeah,
this.
and again, the novel bowling club thing that was given to me by a friend. So like
Sure.
like if the bullshit book class gave it to me, I probably would wear it. But because I have to buy it, I'm like, well,
There's
no.
another element of being removed, sort of like Spencer said, where if it's not local,
Yeah.
it's hard.
If I can't buy it in person, that's like an extra
So
step
that's
that I don't want to
yeah,
take.
sort of
Yeah,
another
steps,
step for
So
you.
steps. That's a good. Yeah, exactly. So it's like
Or it adds
like
intentionality because it's like if you
like
just say, "Oh, a fan got me
yeah.
this," and then you wear it, it's like that's fine. But it's like, no, I bought this and I'm wearing it. It's a little different for you, right?
Yeah, it's like I mean, I probably wouldn't have bought the 1,000 yard style hat, but then when I hung out with Rob Spangle, he gave it to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I can wear it to the gym. Like, I mean, it's not like
So I totally
it's
get your point of view. That I get that idea of just like people gave it to me, but it's if it would it be my first purchase
yeah.
or would
If
I
you
put my
so this is
money
a
there?
big
Probably
thing.
not.
If you guys want me to support your brand, you have to send it to me for free. I'm sorry, I don't. you gotta. It's gotta be
And
free,
Ethan's
man.
offer
how
only.
it works.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
exactly. Um,
But that's me.
but yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a very. I have a very
I'm
strong
more open. I might have
authenticity.
been
Yeah,
a little
you're.
bit
Yeah,
more
it.
focused before, but I'm
I
more
mean, it just
open.
depends, right? Because even back, when I look at like style, I mean, I didn't want to wear in the past like branded T-shirts, but it's like what we had, right? And
Yeah.
maybe it's like it's also. I mean, maybe that's not exactly true because like when you're a kid, like, well, I don't want to wear the T-shirt. I want to wear my Star Wars T-shirt. You
I
know?
just still think big corporate logos are lame. And when I said that, I pictured the golden fleece. I pictured the Ralph
Yeah.
Lauren pony. Like those things I just or like text written out Brooks Brothers. Like I don't know. It's a little for me it's I'm not trying to judge him, but just like for my opinion, just like what I would wear, it's not my cup of tea. Rule
Yeah.
of cool. I think acknowledging what's cool to you, what you can live in, because it's like if you're
Mhm.
awkward in a hat, like with an uncomfortable face, then don't wear it, fool.
Don't
What
wear it.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is kind of funny is that I don't think any of my clothing overtly signals what I'm into other than
Mm.
clothing itself.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like if I want to show that I like photography, I'm not gonna wear a Kodak cap. I'm gonna have my fucking camera with me.
Okay,
That's that's kind of the thing there. And it's also funny
you're
too,
more
like
literal in that sense. Have the thing.
I mean, I guess so. It's more like if like I'm very open on social media, so maybe that's also something like because I'm open on that end where and by open I don't mean like I share. It's more like I just it's
This
like
is this.
You
my
tell
Instagram is
people
like
what you're up to.
my Instagram. Yeah, my Instagram is like my Twitter. I just update it with
Sure.
whatever the fuck I feel like I'm doing, and so
This
like
is
I don't.
not. Yeah.
So because I do that, I feel like wearing a cap that says John Williams on it is overkill. Like I
Yeah, a
can't
little
like
bit,
I don't want to do that. But
and no one should.
I think a lot of people aren't as open. I mean in general, right? Like not many people are like open on social media. So it's fun to show off something, right? Like so that you're into.
I keep
Yeah.
referring to the Spencer thing where it's like you pick the clothes and then you head out the door and don't think about it. I don't as much dress for other people in these things.
Yeah.
Like I don't do this. I'm using this as a fake example. I don't do this. I do not wear a Bullshot Book Club hat to make it look like, hey, I read books. Maybe ask me about that, or think I read books. Think I'm smart. I just say, hey, this is a thing I know looks good together because of my influences, all that stuff, and I wear it. I'm not trying to elicit a reaction from people. It's just something that is part of my thing that I enjoy. So it's more so for me and just living in clothing rather than it might be subconscious to like support like a punk rock, but that's not a goal. No one in Milwaukee's gonna jump on the ship, Jason. I'm so sorry to break
He's
it
not
to
here,
you.
unfortunately.
He's on
Not yet.
television. Well,
Not
he'll
yet.
He's
watch
on
this.
television.
You pretty much are.
Time to switch hats. This
And
time.
speakers.
This time.
This time.
This time, I'm wearing my garments for no one
Our,
hat.
yeah.
Which was kindly, hey, if you want to talk about gifting, kindly gifted to me by the Garments for No One team at Inspiration a couple years ago.
Me too.
Don't wear this one much. Not saying it's not a good looking hat. It just doesn't mesh very well with my wardrobe. But here it is.
I use it
Yeah, I see
for
the thing.
like a well, not to say that they're like a whatever brand or
Yeah.
it's a whatever like design, but like if I'm just going to like the grocery store or like to the doctor, like I'll wear it, you know?
Mhm.
If
Yeah. I mean,
if
it's
I'm
like
just going
it's
out.
a nice light. It's a good quality cap. I can say it like feels good. It's a nice lightweight cotton. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't wear it because it doesn't mesh with my wardrobe very well.
I would never change the title of the stream.
Oh,
The wheels are
Um,
off, folks.
I missed that
So
because yeah, my bad.
yeah,
Because I was
it's
setting
fine.
up the stream.
I mean, I don't know. Like, again, it just depends. I think on how much you want to signal to other people. Maybe not even signal on purpose, but like how much visual support you want to do in general on merch. You know, like no one asked. I mean, I happen to be the random person that someone asked me about my merch, which has never happened before because
Yeah.
like no one that says, "Oh, what's funny." You know, when I wear when
They don't do that?
I wish they did. I mean, I would love to
Tell
tell them
me,
about
tell
my
me what's
joke
funny.
that I
Tell
stole
me,
from The Great
please.
Gatsby.
Of
Um,
course.
but you know, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like that layer again, as you think about like the collaboration stuff, it gets like it gets deeper, right? Where people go like, "Oh, what is that?" And they go, "Oh, well, it's a W.M. Brown X Snoot parka that was only like a couple of them were made, you know, and yeah, you know, you had to be there. You know, that's
Of
kind of a
course.
big. I mean, that's one thing about merch is that it's mass produced, but also technically, there's supposed to be barriers to entry. Like you know, like you only get the NPR if you're or you know if you donated, right? So you get the NPR cap. You know, just like,
I mean,
um,
did you read that article that I think John posted in articles? I think.
well, no, go for it.
Thank you, Dr. Zizmore. I don't know how to. I think that's the only way I could think of how to pronounce that name. But anyway, it goes into of like I guess Zizmore core, which I mean I like skimmed the article, but it's like just it talks a lot about like New York centric merch, and they talk a lot about like the coolest stuff is like the stuff that you can't like fucking buy on Instagram. It's stuff that you have to like you like that they don't like sell. You have to like either know someone who works there or like track one down vintage. Like that's the
So
cool
do you
stuff.
get kicks out of that of being like exclusivity, or
Oh,
does that not matter?
Well, for example, with the Angels cap that I got, I do think it's cool that it's like, oh hey, it's an old one. I think that's neat. But I primarily bought it because I just like think I just saw it and I was like, oh shit, that like looks really cool. I just thought the two
Yeah,
tone with
that's the deal,
that and
guys.
everything.
You have to like it.
It looked cool, and that's the primary reason why I bought it. But again, the fact that it's vintage and like
Vintage
therefore
cap.
more unique, I think I also like that. So there you go.
Right. Yeah,
Choice.
I was reading through it too. Yeah, the idea about the way merch is positioned now and how it's kind of becoming more not more popular, but it's becoming more accepted as a part of a look now because like we kind of went
Trendy,
past
right?
the whole we went past the whole Hollister thing or Abercrombie. We also went past like the height of Supreme and then the whole hashtag menswear slash internet igent slash minimal guy kind of came in, and then now we're kind of going back to this very New York 90s kind of
This New York
kind of
state of mind.
aesthetic empire, yeah. And
Eh.
like yeah, it's it's interesting. It's really interesting to see people want to be in this thing because I think, this is kind of when I talk about like the Indianization of culture, where people want to signal that they like something that's super fractured, right? There is that small part that you want to be like, well, if they ask me, I can share it about it. I can find other people that like this thing. It's not about open support like wearing, I guess, a Yankees cap, which kind of also happens, but like, yeah, looking here wearing like a B&H beanie, right? Like, I mean, we all know, you guys know B&H, right?
We know
B&H.
the photography, please.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a film, it's a film and
Yeah,
photography
right.
rental and equipment place, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, well, that's and you can only get that right if you work and you
Are in the
rented from
know.
them or you work there. So it's like, there is this idea and incorporating it within other looks where it doesn't really make sense. You know, there's this weird appeal for it. Um,
right.
and I mean, I don't really know how else to feel about it other than it's just an interesting phenomenon, you
Hmm.
know. Um, I'm really curious, what other people think of it because I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people don't really do it as much in that way, like the Zismo core stuff, but you do see spades of it, creeping into menswear with like TF core and everything, and especially also demographically as the hype beasts get into menswear. Like that's just what's happening, right? All these guys who like bought sneakers are like again trading their sneakers for, you know,
Loafers.
Loafers.
double-breasted blazers and loafers. Yeah, literally loafers. But then even then, right?
Ball
It's not
caps,
like,
two
oh,
berets.
like when you look at, you know, what these guys are doing, they're not just buying Aldens. I mean, some of them might be, and some of them might be wearing Baswegians, but a lot of them are buying like, oh, the TF core ones, like literally their collaboration ones, or like,
Or just like the interesting, like, chunky, like not as classic ones. Um,
yeah.
or loafers.
I mean, it's just I, merch that looks cool is probably just the better like the best way to do it, you know, or even collaboration stuff. Um, but again, with menswear, it's just really tough because you don't really get to incorporate it as much. It doesn't allow you to do it as easily as if you were wearing Gorp or something, you know? Um, I don't know if Aldous or Kiyoshi want to hop on. We have like 20 minutes left if any of them will have any thoughts that they want
Yeah.
to share.
Really quick,
But
Get him on.
I am gonna take this opportunity because I have two more. I'm
It is a two
cutting the
more.
garments for no one had a little bit short because I do want to show off this one, which I cut initially, but I want to show it off.
Hold on.
So this is my Bigfoot country hat. I wasn't sure if this really counted as merch, but I got this at an antique store that had a bunch of like antique store slash Bigfoot memorabilia store. I got this at the beginning of 2020. Haven't really worn it. It used to have like a big buckram like structure up front, but I just cut that off because I wanted it the soft front. But here it is, my Bigfoot
My
country
dad
hat.
has some kind of Sasquatch hat. I don't know what it
Yeah,
says, Gone Sasquatch or something stupid. That
yeah,
he
but it's
wears.
fun.
I
I
don't know if he's
believe
wearing
in
ironically or
Sasquatch.
unironically.
I'm glad I got this, even if I don't wear it much, because yeah, it's a fun little souvenir from my last trip before the pandemic. So
I have a cap that I thrifted that says "Gardeners for Yahweh."
that's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, the thing is, it's great. It's green. Never wear it
Mm.
because I don't wear
Yeah.
cap.
How green? Like
How green we talking?
It's a good green. It's a good cap.
It's a
It's
good
just
green.
Like Power
I mean, I
Rangers
could
green or like
let me pull it out for you guys.
Like
It is,
Tom
it is,
Green's slime tape green.
it is
like Hank Green,
It is so
Like
John.
Booger green.
Gogurt
it is
green.
Fuse
very
Gogurt.
dusty. Why would I wear this thing?
Dusty
Anywhere.
green. That's your name. Dusty green.
But yeah, you can see here gardeners of Yahweh, and it's a tree, and there's a lawnmower right next to it. I mean, I could wear this more, I guess.
It's a cool hat.
It is 100% acrylic, so
There you
Oh
go.
no.
that
There
is
you go.
not what I'm about.
What
to
is
hang.
of all your merch hats? What is your favorite?
Oh, the best one is undoubtedly the What's Funny cap.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Why? Because it's me. It's me.
It's merch for
It's
you.
me.
I mean, okay, like that's ultimately what it is, right? Like it has to be. And yeah, Kiyoshi, let me know when you want to talk. But ultimately, like I with anything that's merch or like when this idea that it is like a phrase or art, I arrogantly need it to be of me. So it's like, what's funny? Open that fridge, you know.
Yeah.
Well, SOS, bitch. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I would wear or have somehow as merch, but it's because I made it. I helped, or it's like, or it has to be something that my friend did. Like, oh, if Spencer had, I don't know, what's a classic Spencer phrase?
What's something that?
No, it's
What's
just
the
a
one that I'm gonna put
picture.
in my new suit?
It's
Oh,
just
it's a picture of
boy.
it's a picture of
Avengers suit.
it's a picture of a windshield and they're spraying water, and then that's what it would be. That
This
would be
is
actually
crazy.
that would be
We've
a
never talked
hilarious-
about the. We can't get into this
Here
in
we
the
are.
last 17
No, we're
minutes,
not.
but
But we're gonna. I mean, but that
Jesus
would be a
Christ.
hilarious merch if Spencer put that as artwork somewhere. I would probably have that as like a sticker or something. I would love that.
Well, there we go.
you
That's
know?
gonna be podcast merch once we talk about your
There you
weird
go. Again,
fixation on me using my windshield wipers.
Yeah, I am more inclined to support friends that when it's actual art. Like Ryan. If Ryan had a cap, I would buy it. Because I love
No
Ryan's
cap?
artwork. No cap.
Wow.
But it's really like, or if he had like a T-shirt or something, Or I mean, I bought his comic, so technically, I bought the coffee. I didn't have to buy the fucking the cap from the cafe. So it's like it's just one of those things. But yeah, Kiyoshi, go ahead. What do you want to jump into?
Well, I just think it's funny you would have merch of your own, like inside jokes. It's kind of like not just wearing the band T-shirt to the concert, but being in the band wearing your own band merch. Like,
I think that's the ultimate, right?
Absolutely,
It just
yeah.
gets
fun.
more and more
Very
ridiculous.
inside.
How else are they gonna know I'm in the band, guys? Come on, like, that's not how
Right.
I mean, this is what
It
I'm
has your
thinking
name
about.
and your number on the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I'm wearing my own jersey. Well,
You're-
hey, hold on. Sports guys do that all
There
the
you go.
time.
They wear
When
their
they're
own
on the-
merch.
They wear their own merch. See, I'm not crazy, okay?
No.
I'm not crazy. But Kiyoshi, as someone who buys collab stuff, can you take us through a little bit about that and like branded logo, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy a ton of branded stuff, but the most recent one I did pick up was the Ralph Lauren Major League Baseball
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah.
collaboration that they did, and because I did the Chicago Cubs,
Cubbies.
and up until now, I really don't have any sports gear at all with sports teams on, which is I think probably the world's most popular type of merch in terms of clothing.
Absolutely.
There's probably no shortage of we have entire landfills full of merch that's just sports stuff. But so I've never really got one because I've never really connected with like a generic Cubs T-shirt or sweater or what have you. But the polo stuff, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And to me, it made like the fact that Ralph Lauren had his huge freaking name like stamped all over this polo. I was like, all right, I dig the logo to polo from
Yeah.
Polo and the Cubs. I think that's kind of interesting and cool and different. But I think it's interesting that like Ralph Lauren really, I mean, he did a lot of branding and
Yeah.
logoing on his stuff, but they
Mhm.
never really were doing a lot of collaborations um, outside of athletics until very recently.
Mm.
So like they've done like the uniforms for the U.S. Olympic team is probably the most visible like collaboration that they've ever done, and that they continue to
Yeah.
do. They're probably going to do again this year. Um, but I thought kind of like one of the more interesting ones was truly another like brand collaboration that was also a uh, I guess a clothing company, even though they're more skate company, was their collaboration with Palace, like 1 or 2 years
That's right.
ago, which is a
Mhm.
skateboard brand for those who don't know, based out of England. And I thought that was like really, really strange that they would, out of all like streetwear-ish style brands you could collaborate with, it was Palace, which is not even an American company for that matter. I thought that was very curious and interesting. Um, but we're also seeing other stuff like I know we mentioned like ALD and Drake's because everyone here is a Drake's fan,
Todd
but
Snyder. David just put Todd Snyder in the comments.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Todd
Oh
Snyder and
yeah, that
Champion.
guy. Yeah, his
I mean,
Timex
Todd
stuff.
Snyder
That's
just
great.
in general has done Timex, Champion, LL
Mhm.
Bean, New Balance. I think there's a million brands he's collaborated with. Range Rover or something
That's
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
I think. I just think it's interesting that in a lot of ways. Actually, another one before I forget is Kith, and what
Oh,
Rodney
that's
Peak
right.
does.
Yeah.
Like Kith is that's pretty much probably 90% what they put out are collaborations with Coca Cola and fucking Smurfs or like whatever. Um,
The
and
Minions collab.
I always think it's so weird, that collaboration stuff has grown and grown and grown. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing because um, a lot of times you might be a fan of a company or a brand or sports team, um, but the merch that may even remotely exist for that isn't good. And when a brand collaborates with a apparel company to produce something, something like Ralph Lauren or like that,
Right.
I think it has a higher quality of being like kind of cool. Um, so it's just kind of like, do you just want to drive, or do you want to go and buy at the Porsche dealership a shirt that says Porsche on it, or do you want something that is part of like the Amin Landor Porsche collaboration instead? I think it's
Right.
very obvious that the Porsche collaboration is going to be a way more interesting piece of clothing to wear than just, oh, I got this like Porsche logo slapped on an Under Armour t-shirt. Um, and that's like what I, was able to buy because I like Porsche cars.
Right.
So I think there's
But
opportunities, and I think they're not all
well, it's
great. Like,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
Because
that's
I
a
was
good.
like
gonna
for
say that
Brooks
really,
Brothers Fila one is pretty trash.
yeah.
It's not
Because it's
great.
like, because it's trying to see what what the target is, right? Like, what are you trying to elicit, right? Like with Ralph Lauren and Palace, I mean, to me, right? It's like you want to capture the uh the streetwear side of it. Um, well, the streetwear side is trying to capture the Ralph Lauren. Like that's what they're leveraging. They're trying to get that part of it, right? Just like how, um, I think I'm echoing on Kiyoshi for a second. Um, but in terms of like with Fila and Brooks Brothers, it's also very clear. Like they want the guys who are gonna buy Fila to get something Brooks Brothers, right? Like that's what they're
Right.
trying to do, compared to say I don't know, like Todd Snyder, where it's like, okay, I want to get the Todd Snyder guys into liking LLB and stuff, to kind of introduce them into that, or maybe not
Or
introduce
just
them, but
being
kind of
able,
like,
like, I feel like with the LL Bean collaboration, it was more about they'd never collaborated with anyone before, ever.
right, yeah, exactly,
And it was about him being able to go in the archives and kind of just take their fabrics, take their patterns, take their, their tech packs, um, and do his own, make it put a designer, a modern
Spin on it.
American
Yeah.
designer spin on LL Bean,
Yeah.
which in the same way is kind of like what happened when he had Tom Brown do, doing Brooks Brothers for Black Fleece, where it was
Right.
like, here's like a designer who's taking like the kind of house aesthetic of Brooks Brothers, prep, Ivy, whatever, a lot of heritage behind it, and then just putting a designer spin on it. I think after he left, like Zach Posen
Right.
took
Yeah. Yeah.
over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like, and that one was not great, and then they shuttered it. But I think it's very, when you have the ability to bring an interesting designer into a brand that's more of say a legacy situation. Um, I think that does have a lot of potential, and I think that's where, even though it won't be like Noah X J Crew, you're gonna get a similar idea of, Noah Van Bazian, or Brian Van Bazian, where coming into J Crew and having again a designer spin on a older brand, a more established brand that hasn't had its DNA shaken up. Um,
Mhm.
so that'll be interesting to see where that gets taken. I think I think that to me that's I think where collaborations can be really strong is when you have the ability of someone who has a keen eye for design and is a little bit more tapped into the current cultural
Yeah.
landscape, like coming in and saying, "Hey, you have a great heritage brand here. Um, let's leverage the best parts of that to make an interesting product that
Right.
will make your fans interested and make our current brands fans interested in maybe thinking that you're as cool as I know you to be." You know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
vouching
I
for
mean,
the
apparently,
Mhm.
the ALD with Drake's worked too well, and now Drake's is
Hmm.
trying to become ALD now. So I mean, it's
Hmm.
Oh, really? Oh boy.
I mean, I don't
not
think
not exactly. I just mean like
they're not
like
doing a very good job of it. I mean, they
yeah,
should just give him the keys. But well, funny enough, that Teddy Santis went to New Balance America, right?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
which there's another like collaboration that's huge, like with sneakers, and making New Balance a growing, more interesting sneaker company that gets a lot of hype around it. Like who was buying? Who would have ever thought like 10 years ago that New Balances would be selling out in certain
Hmm.
Right.
colorways, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Like no one would ever have guessed that about New Balance. I mean, you're talking about like the dad shoe of dad shoes.
Yeah.
And now it's even getting harder to find like some of their general release stuff.
Yeah.
Because the colorways are so good. Like, and I think that I think is like the power of like, we talk about a lot about brands that are dying or having a tough financial go of it. And the 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 ones that are, I think, the most interesting right now are the ones that are able to bring in these designers who come from hype brands. Maybe it begins with collaborations and then it turns into, changing that brand and that company's culture,
Right.
to help them stay relevant and still be around and, you know, be making cool merchandise,
Yeah.
for people like us to buy. I think
I mean,
that's a good thing. It doesn't always hit, but um, I think you need to have someone that comes from a more independent, smaller background, because that is where a lot of the attention is now being placed.
yeah,
To find emerging designers with
totally.
interesting visions.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's got to be cool. Like David says here, finding collabs that don't feel like just a money grab is getting tougher. Because I feel like nowadays, like I mean, the good example is fucking Brooks and
Kith.
Fila, dude.
Hmm.
Or that too. But I guess from like a menswear perspective, and it's also like one of those things where when you get more niche into like the classic menswear side of it, like who would have thought that I don't know how old Scaroso is, but like they were pretty early to tap into the WM Brown phenomenon, right? And they made those fucking like kind of like snuff suede like light tan suede loafers with WM Brown, and they made
Yeah.
like a boot too and everything, and then Drake's initially was really cool by working with super independent artists to make like those pillows that were really cool and sold out
I
immediately like
remember. Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. Like that was really cool. Or like they even
And I did some scarves or pocket squares with some of
yeah,
them.
with
Like,
Kristen Textiera, which is a great artist I
right.
also like. So you're seeing stuff like that, which I think is cool, but obviously it doesn't have, you know, the gravitas as like, oh yeah, Drake's ALD or whatever, right? So it's it's tough when you see the way the market's going, but then, you know, just because you do it doesn't mean it'll be good. And
Right.
menswear, from a classic menswear perspective, not even just general menswear, but classic menswear perspective, it's very painfully obvious that brands are trying to capture what they're seeing from stuff like Growing Blazers, which is a lot further into the other camp of streetwear or whatever, um, because they assume that just because they're doing it, it's cool. But when you look at it, I mean, you're not as cool as Growing Blazers, like in the lexicon of the regular world, you know. And
Yeah. I mean, Rolling Blazers to me, I think, is a great, because I never really thought like, it's hard to say like how much business any given business like that is doing. Um, but their most recent collaboration with Seiko, um, they had
a stroke of
three
genius,
watches come
apparently.
out.
Hmm.
Well, they have three watches come out. One
Mhm.
of them is just general release. I guess it's going to be restocked for seems like a lot down the road, and then two limited edition pieces, capped at 500 units.
Yeah.
Um, the limited edition pieces alone moved $500,000 in revenue
Oh my
inside of
god.
48 hours.
Jesus. Well, there you
Think
go.
about
Yeah.
500 watches at $500 a piece, or sorry, 1,000 watches at $500 a piece. So that's
Yeah.
just the two limited editions, not counting the general release one they did. So it's probably not hard to assume they did $1 million of revenue in 48 hours. Um, that is a crazy amount of revenue. Now, granted, it's not all profit. It's probably split two ways, but that is still tells you that there is definitely um, there's definitely a lot of money to be made in this when it's the right kind of product.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And here's a watch that it's not super cheap, but it's also not crazy unaffordable.
Yeah.
It's not like the Black Panther Audemars Piguet watch that
Yeah,
came out.
exactly.
Which I'm like, how many units could they possibly have sold of that? You know, uh, and it's something that it kind of hits the intersection of like watch people, prep, um, you know, eh, just I think it's a cool looking piece with some I think interesting history around it, and it's something that's also very much a unisex piece as
Yeah.
well, and because it's an accessory, and I just kind of think that when you have the right kind of formulas, those seem to work really well.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and it's kind of interesting. I think there's definitely people will look at releases like that and be thinking a little bit more outside of the box of like, oh, like what can we do that's kind of going to be not just a thing that's like throw pick two names out of a hat and now
Hmm.
it's a collaboration, but also like what can we do that's like a really focused item that just checks a lot of boxes for people that actually gets them excited about the whole concept. That is a fun piece to own and wear and use. And I think I read some of that like that collaboration took like 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Um,
I think I
yeah.
remember that too.
So like that's a long time, to
Mhm.
and a lot of energy from a lot of people, like, to make something like that happen, and, um, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the big, like, collaborations we see do take, not just 6 months, but probably, like, 18 months or, year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that, I think, like, Todd Snyder was talking about some of the collaborations. I think, like, the LL Bean one he was working on, he was just trying to get his foot in the door for several years for them to even consider it, let alone working on, like, making the collection itself. So, um, I know a lot of people see the collaborations as money grabs, but, um, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into putting together a collaboration between 2 companies that probably have very different cultures and ways of working, et cetera, et cetera. Not to mention all the legal and financial aspects of it. So, um, you know, I think, it deserves a lot more credit. Um, I think it's also interesting of, like, what collaborations end up being successful,
Hmm.
and what are those cultures of those companies, that are helping make them successful, not just from a we sold a lot of pieces, but also, I guess you could call it, like, the street cred, of them too.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that really kind of like when a collaboration is successful, it's because it's actually resonating with the people that want to buy the product, and wear it and have some
That
taste.
last part is really good, like resonating. I think
Mhm.
ultimately what we're seeing is kind of like the entire menswear. I guess the subsection of menswear is getting, rebelling against the kind of unbranded, uh, agnostic style,
Right.
right? They want something that's pointing to
Anti
something. These prep guys,
Anti-Everlane,
they
anti-American Apparel. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like the prep guys finally have a brand that represents quote rep to them,
Hmm.
and they can get something that is also classic, a Seiko, but that also has an overt prep connotation.
Yeah.
And so it's it's like seeing Simon wear more casual things. We are seeing more and more menswear guys get into this, right? We are seeing, guys like, I mean, Jeremy Kirkland. He's wearing the custard hat, right? Like the frozen custard cap. Like it's all about that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of us in the Discord and the Patreon, with certain people, or sorry, the Twitch, to a certain extent, are also examples of that. Where it's like, you know what? I don't need to wear a blank navy twill cap. Why can't it be, you know, my like, fucking bullshit book club? It's funny, it's something I identify with, it's something I
Right.
kind of know. Why can't I do that? Oh, if I'm gonna wear a fucking sweatshirt, why can't it be the Chicago Cubs Ralph Lauren one? Like why
It
can't
can
it
be
be that?
both.
It can, yeah, it can, and merch like Spencer's like, it's supposed to be mass produced. It's usually built, put a logo, branded art, phrase, whatever, on a basic. And
Yeah.
since menswear is built on basics, it's like, okay, well, this is just swapping that stuff out, you know? Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's why it's resonating so well, is because, so far we haven't seen anything super crazy, or at least the good ones are the ones that don't go crazy. Like they're not doing like, I don't know, did Fila do a blazer with with the fucking Brooks Brothers? Um, but like, see,
Maybe.
that's kind of like, yes, they did.
Hmm.
Oh
They
no.
have
Oh
they
no.
also did one with it on a tennis sweater.
Hmm.
Well,
Um,
the
but
sweater makes sense, honestly.
yeah, and and the actual polo shirt kind of makes sense too. I mean, this stuff, it's not that bad, but it's also not great either.
I think what
Um,
like bugs me about it the most though is like Rowing Blazers has had their Fila collaboration first, and like then Brooks Brothers did like a Me Too,
Hmm.
where they're like, we need to
yeah,
have our own Fila collab. It's
it's
like,
not even that good.
yeah, it's just like,
I
oh,
mean,
red, white, and blue. It's like, I mean, I get it. They're trying to like play off like the U.S. Open for tennis or something with this, but yeah,
yeah.
kind of,
It's
yeah.
just, yeah, and I think, again, just like with authenticity or whatever, your gut will tell you what's cool or not and what
Mhm.
will work for your style. Um, and yeah, I'm still curious to see what happens. Just like how menswear is forced to kind of confront this, right? Because it's like, oh, they don't like it, but it's still so popular. Um, and something I realized recently is like, menswear, classic menswear is all about like fitting in or like being agnostic. But what
Mhm.
happens is if the fact that you're agnostic is what's setting you apart and making you noticeable. You know what I mean? Like it's like the fact that you are inoffensive is something people can see clearly, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
What's
and
funny to
you know,
me is like, is the Brooks Brothers has done a collaboration with Supreme in the past. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
I'm like almost 95% sure that they had a collaboration with Supreme. Can you imagine if they continued that collaboration year after year and was selling Supreme stuff on their own website and their stores? Like,
Wild.
that's just where it's like, wasn't clearly thought out. Like, they gave the name over to Supreme to be used on a Supreme drop, but didn't cross promote to their website,
Yeah.
or their stores. Hey, you can pick up our collaboration Supreme, and that would make them look cool. Like they didn't do any of that ever. Um, they
Would have been a good idea.
yeah, it's just that to me is just it shows like there are companies that understand like the cross promotional power of these, and there's some
Mhm.
that just don't. Um,
Yeah. I
but
mean, there's like we said, there's good and bad merch, There's a difference between like a Star Wars t-shirt from Disneyland and a Star Wars t-shirt that has a cool Japanese poster on it, Like it's
Hmm.
always going to come down to just how not even like, yeah, the IP part works too, but also how good it is as a piece of art or on its own, right? Like if Bullshot Book Club was in a shitty ass font, would would people still buy it? No, I think there's definitely an appeal that like to the hand drawn like kind of you know pencil kind of handwriting that the
I
Bullshot Book
mean, you
Club
see that
has.
with the Comedy Bang Bang merch, where it's like, how ugly can we make this clothing and people still buy it? Like, that's what I just thought of when you mentioned the font thing. Just
Yeah,
like, you
but
still want to
on
wear the
that
stuff.
note though, the guys buying the thing is Comedy Bang Bang merch isn't supposed to be fashion.
No,
So that's
no,
the downside, right? Like I could not
right,
eat a big dog don't hold no grudges with bloody
no.
nachos. I can't. I
You
I
can't make
love
that
Comedy
work.
Bang Bang. I can't.
No,
Yeah. Even if it's a
the talent.
even if it's a black based T-shirt, I can't.
Okay,
Dude, okay, I'm gonna put this
you
in
should.
live
I'm
You
gonna
really should.
see. Here's kind of a funny shirt. I guess you could like make this where this is like a funny podcast merch shirt, which I think you can make work with like I don't know. I guess like '90s looks because it's supposed to be like a bootleg Bart T-shirt.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
Yeah, this one's kind of fun.
yeah, that was the thing. People got those.
let's yeah, let's take a look at this. Um Good God. What
So it's
what
from podcast The Ride, and it's a parody of Botanicus, who is of course ET's teacher on ET the Ride. Um,
of course.
and
E.T. the Ride.
ET the Ride at Universal Studios, but
um
instead of Botanicus, it's Botanicush,
Of course.
and he's from the
oh.
Green Planet, man.
You got.
Yeah,
I
Wow.
mean, when I was a kid, I mean, as much as I like to talk
Oh,
about where
there
I
it
did have
is.
a vote for
Oh,
Pedro
but that
shirt.
was the
So
best, and I
I think
wish
I
I
had a
had
vote
that.
for Pedro shirt
I
too.
wish I
yeah,
had that
because I
shirt
mean,
so
but
much.
that was cool because it's like, oh, I can wear what they had in the movie, right? Like that's
Yeah,
kind of a
Yeah,
big thing of it.
and
As
also
if
like the
this
design of the shirt. Why not? Like
It's like
the
it's
ends,
it's
the
it's
ribbing.
literally a 70s ringer tee with like a
Yeah,
fucking with a thing on it, right?
yeah,
I
of
have
course.
a blue. Well, no, I don't have. I do. I have two ringer tees. One is like 19. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Let me pull it out. It's a t-shirt. See what it's okay. So I've got here's a couple of my merch shirts. Here we go. So I thrifted all of these. I have a shirt that says Spring Classic '84 Van Lines North America. This is a fucking great t-shirt. It's so good. It's the sad part is that it is like a light blue, so it doesn't have that like classic like white merch tee kind of a thing to it. I have a 70s or 80s Diet Dr. Pepper baseball tee.
Don't tell them.
Yeah,
Don't tell the
don't tell 'em.
doctor.
I have no idea if this was like sold anywhere or if this was like a like a company thing. There's no name on it at all. But it's really cool. It's a size large, even though it's like a fucking small because it's shrunk. It's definitely from the 70s because the label says Screen Stars.
Green
I don't even
Star.
know. I don't even know what that is. Maybe it's merch from a movie. Who knows? And then here's the
Maybe it's
ringer
like
tee
silk
here.
screening, like they're silk screen stars.
Oh yeah, maybe. Here it is. This says it's 84 New Orleans, Louisiana World Expo. Oh
Ah, the
hell
Big
yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I got this also from a flea market or a what's it called? The antique mall where Spencer and I have gone occasionally.
Yeah.
And yeah, so these are my merch tees. And like I like the idea, I just don't wear them because they don't fit in with. I also have 2 shirts from Oregon because my mom went there and she bought me a shirt from
Here you
from, like,
go.
the airport probably, and I actually love them because they actually kind of like a 70s kind of a feel to them. Because keep Portland weird, am I right, guys?
Let's keep it
Um,
weird. So before we
right?
finish off, I want to give a shout
Yeah.
out to my last hat, which I've been wearing for the last 10 plus minutes or so. This is my most worn ball cap. My go-to, it is Ebbets Field, but it is for my university. It's for the CSUF Titans 1965 ball cap. And I like this one primarily because this is like my ideal fit for ball caps. I like when they're very like close, like I like when they fit like skull caps, when they're very low and close to the skull. So in terms of fit, this is my favorite ball cap. I would like it if all the rest of them were cut and fit like this.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spencer's always had a thing for caps. He loves them.
Well, yeah. As I've said before, I have to wear hats anytime I'm outside. So
That's right.
I end up having a lot of them.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining us today. If you guys want to hear more about how Spencer and I wear merch, um, or more of our commentary, you can read the blog post for me. And you can listen to the podcast Sound Direction for our episode on merch. There's a lot of pictures in the show notes / essay that have a lot of the more menswear focused, classic menswear stuff that's in there. Obviously, collaborations, merch, branded clothing is not a new thing, but like I said, we're seeing the return to it. It's getting more and more popular. People are getting into it as to me, it's seen as a pushback against being very minimal, no branded, again, cost core / Everlane type of stuff. People don't want to be that
Oh
anymore.
yeah.
People want to be loud. People want to
People
show
want to be
their
loud.
association or to show how ironic they are. But yeah, you guys should definitely check those out.